After discovering that Santa Claus has been kidnapped, Callum Drift, Santa's top bodyguard, realizes he has only 24 hours to find Santa and save Christmas. Spoilers ahead. The movie starts 30 years ago, with a young Jack O'Malley at a family Christmas party. After stealing his Uncle Rick's keys, he takes his cousins upstairs to show them that their parents, not Santa Claus, got them gifts. Jack's Uncle Rick comes upstairs to scold him for ruining the surprise. He still tries to tell Jack that Santa will come for Christmas, but Jack doesn't believe him and eats the cookies meant for Santa. In the present day, Jack is a skilled tracker. His current task from his anonymous client requires him to infiltrate a building to track his target. He sneaks past a building's security by creating a distraction, setting a Christmas tree on fire, and stealing an employee's ID. Once inside, he plants a device. To be even more of a jerk, he also steals candy from a baby while escaping outside. At a mall, Santa, also known as Red One, is doing his annual gig with his top bodyguard, Callum Drift, who is the head of the ELF at the North Pole. Callum is unhappy with how greedy and rude the holiday shoppers are. He deals with an annoying wannabe influencer who tries to interrupt a family's visit with Santa, scaring him off. Callum takes his job very seriously to keep Santa safe at all times. Santa enjoys his yearly gig because it makes him feel refreshed. After the event, Callum takes him to the airport, where Santa shows off his sleigh and reindeers. The reindeers are very happy to see Callum because he brings them treats. As they take off, 2 jets fly alongside Santa, escorting them. Santa says goodbye and then speeds up to head back to the North Pole, which is hidden by a magical force field. However, as they enter the force field, Jack receives a notification regarding the seismic activity in the North Pole. In his apartment, Jack talks to his secret employer. They pay him half of what they promised and say they will give him the rest once they find the person Jack was hired to track. At the North Pole, Callum and Santa are welcomed by Mrs. Claus. Callum is also greeted by Agent Garcia, a talking polar bear who is part of the ELF team, enforcement, logistics, and fortification. While Santa is working out, Callum visits him and hands over his resignation letter. They have a heartfelt conversation where Callum explains that he wants to retire because he feels disillusioned with the holiday spirit. The increase in the naughty list over the years worries him. Santa tries to comfort him and saying that deep down, every grown-up still has the child they once were. He asks Callum for one final ride, and they shake hands. Outside the dome, a team of mercenaries breaks through the force field. While Callum is walking down the street, he stares at the old building. Callum then notices the lights in Santa's tower are flickering. Feeling suspicious, he radios his team and asks if anyone is with Santa, but they say he isn't with them. He goes to Santa's room and finds Santa missing. Callum spots the kidnappers and chases them across the North Pole. They tried to secure the streets by raising up barricades and sending agents on snowmobiles, but the kidnappers still got away. Callum pulled a snowmobile out of his pocket, made it full-sized, and chased them outside the dome. Despite his efforts, the kidnappers managed to escape. Zoe Harlow, director of MORA, the Mythological Oversight and Restoration Authority, contacts the North Pole after hearing what happened. She says that the trolls are searching online to find out who hacked the seismic surveillance system. The trolls then discover that the wolf, Jack, did the hack and describe him as the best tracker in the world. Jack gets a call from his ex, Olivia, because their son Dylan is in trouble at school. Dylan tried to hack the school's PA system, but his best friend told the principal, so he slashed his bike's tire. Jack scolds Dylan, not for trying the hack, but for not doing it well, and should not trust anyone. After taking Dylan to his mom, he mentions he has to practice for a concert that night and Jack wishes him luck. His ex tells him that Dylan wants to see him more often, but Jack says he is busy at work, then he leaves. When Jack gets back to his apartment, he's confronted by a team of North Pole mercenaries. He fights them off until Zoe knocks him out and takes him to the North Pole. There, Zoe tells him that all the mythological creatures are real as their department handles them. Jack doesn't believe it at first, but is shocked to see the Headless Horseman as they investigate the usual suspects for Santa's disappearance. He then learns that Santa was kidnapped. Callum and the giant polar bear agent, Garcia, confront him since he's on the level 4 naughty list. Jack explains he was hired to track someone but didn't know who it was or what the job involved. But he can track the person who contacted him for the job. She then offers to hire Jack for double the pay he was originally offered, and Jack agrees to the deal. Santa wakes up in a cell and meets his captor, a young woman. She connects Santa to a machine that drains his energy to power her weapon, a magical snow globe prison called a Glaskafig. Callum and Jack, although hesitant, decide to work together to rescue Santa and save Christmas. They gather some toys, travel through a portal in a toy store, and enlarge a toy car to use as their vehicle. Their journey takes them to Aruba, where they find Ted, the middleman who set up the deal between Jack and the villain. After Callum uses a special ability to change his size and fight off Ted's henchmen, they confront Ted and discover that the villain is Gryla, the Christmas witch. Ted writes her name on the sand because if you say her name, she will hear you. But Jack mentions her name. Gryla hears it and uses Ted to warn Callum that she will punish everyone on Santa's naughty list. Moments later, an ice cream truck comes out of the ocean. 3 huge, monstrous snowmen emerge and attack Jack and Callum. They try to fight them, but the snowmen keep putting themselves back together. Callum accidentally knocks the carrot nose off the first one, destroying it. Jack throws a propane tank onto a grill and tosses a bottle of liquor, causing an explosion that destroys the second one, and Jack is thrown into the pool. The third snowman turns the pool into ice, trapping Jack by the foot, but before he can harm him, Callum removes its nose too, killing it. Meanwhile, Gryla tries to test the Glascafig on a man in Santa's naughty list. When the man touches the snow globe, he gets trapped inside. However, Gryla gets upset because the globe doesn't return to her. She demanded her men to fix it. Zoe meets with Callum and Jack, but unfortunately, Ted is frozen and can't give more information. Callum suggests that Santa's estranged brother could be working with Gryla. However, Maura doesn't have the authority to go to the brother's lair, but Callum and Jack decide to go in secretly. Jack receives a call from Olivia, who scolds him for not planning to attend Dylan's concert. Jack then talks with Callum about Dylan, admitting he hasn't always been the best father. Jack asks about Santa's brother and Callum explains that they used to work together at first. Santa gives gifts and his brother keeps track. His brother then started the naughty list, but got obsessed with it and started punishing naughty kids. Santa was furious, and they separated. His brother then fell for a witch, who also punishes naughty children, but eventually broke up. Jack and Callum reach the hideout of Santa's stepbrother, who is actually Krampus. Callum warns Jack not to touch anything, but Jack alerts Krampus Slay and his henchmen by trying to steal a piece of gold. They are captured and brought to meet Krampus. They see him playing Krampusklap, a slapping game where each player takes turns to slap the opponent. He wins effortlessly, being the champion of the game. After the game, they talk to Krampus, who says he does not have Santa. Callum also asks the reason for Gryla's recent visit to him, and Krampus explains that she came to take back the Glascafig, which looks like a simple snow globe but is a prison for one person. Callum asks to be let go so they can keep searching for Santa, but Krampus decides to imprison Callum and sends Jack to deliver a warning to Maura that there's a price for intruding on his place. Jack then challenges Krampus to play Krampusklap, where he bets that if Callum wins, they can walk out, and if they lose, they can be his prisoner forever. Callum tries to reason with Krampus, but gets slapped hard. In the second round, Jack steals back Callum's arm brace, activates it, and attaches it to Callum's arm. This allows Callum to deliver a huge slap to Krampus, helping them escape with the help of 2 robot toys that Callum enlarges. Callum praises Jack for his clever idea. He thanks Jack for helping him escape because Jack could have just walked out. The duo is now set to save Christmas, but when Jack asks about the Glascafig, he unintentionally mentions Gryla's name. Callum interrupts him, but Gryla hears part of their conversation and gets an idea for another trial. While traveling, they talk about Gryla's plan to make billions of Glascafigs, which seems impossible for her to do alone. Suddenly, they see a grand piano on the road with a gift for Jack on top. Jack refuses to open it, so Callum does. Inside is a Glascafig. Jack then gets a video call from Dylan, who is upset that Jack missed his concert. Dylan opens his own package and touches a Glascafig, getting teleported. Jack has no choice but to grab his globe and go after Dylan, while Callum has to go find them. Jack and Dylan find themselves in Gryla's lair, where she brags about how well the Glascafigs are working and orders her men to start mass production. She then reveals her plan to deliver the Glascafigs to every person on the naughty list. Meanwhile, Callum talks to Zoe about Gryla's plan to produce Glascafigs in large quantities. They suddenly realize that Santa never left the North Pole because it's the only place that can mass produce it through his powers. They also figure out that Gryla's shape-shifting goons have taken over the North Pole, pretending to be Mrs. Claus and other guards. Back with the father and son, Jack tells Dylan he's sorry for not being a good dad. Dylan forgives him, and this helps Jack's naughty status get better, which makes them grow and break out of the globes. Callum and Zoe find Jack and Dylan. They all team up and realize that Gryla wants to use Santa to drive his sleigh and deliver the magic globes everywhere, trapping all the naughty people. The group hurries to stop her, after freeing the real Mrs. Claus, Garcia, and others along the way. Gryla starts to leave the North Pole, but Callum and Jack catch up to her sleigh. They fight her while flying over a ramp, and Jack unhooks the reindeer, making the sleigh stop and sending Gryla over the edge. Callum tries to wake up Santa, but Gryla returns in her true form, a huge, ugly ogre. She gets ready to attack them, but Krampus shows up in his own sleigh to help. Krampus called the duo imbeciles for not knowing how to talk to a woman. He then tries to sweet-talk Gryla, but she throws him around. Callum tries to attack Gryla, but was also kicked and thrown away. As she is about to kill Callum, Santa wakes up, calls his reindeer, and they punch Gryla into the air, causing her to fall into a pile of globes and get trapped in one. Santa thanks Krampus for his help, and Krampus hesitantly greets him a Merry Christmas. He also demands a rematch with Callum before he leaves. Everyone hurries to get Santa ready for his deliveries. Callum, Jack, and Dylan join Santa as he travels around the world, giving presents and making kids happy. Callum notices Jack and Dylan bonding and even sees Jack's playful side. Santa realizes Callum has changed his mind about retiring. After their journey, Santa flies them all back home. And the movie ends here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the recap, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for our next movie.